for more on this, joined by former England and Liverpool footballer John Barnes. Hey, John, it's good, always good to see you. Thanks for joining us. We talk about this constantly, and nothing ever seems to change.
Because it's a problem in society and not football. And the more we just talk about it in football, the more society absolves itself. We were then told that football can do something for 90 minutes in the stadium, no racist abuse. What can football do about somebody on a Monday night, a Tuesday afternoon on their phones with social media? This is a social problem. It is. So as much as, yes, they may be Man United fans, before they're Man United fans, they're members of society. And until we target society and put together an educational program to let people know why it's wrong to be racist, rather than blaming social media or blaming football, it'll continue.
Indeed so. So what do we need to do? As a greater society, you know, we've got his colleagues tweeting and saying how outraged they are. I'm guessing that we need the FA to get involved as well. The club has said what they want to say. What do we need to do as a society?
What can the FA do? If somebody wants to go on his phone, what responsibility is the FA of stopping a member of society from going on his phone and racially abusing someone? That's got nothing to do with football, nothing to do with the FA. What we have to do is to make people know why it's wrong to be racist, not think of laws to stop them doing it, because laws aren't going to change anything. If you talk about the point, I was listening to the program just a minute ago about Jihadi Jack. Now, if you're talking about, and of course, just bear with me a second, when you talk about members of ISIS having an ideology, passing laws isn't going to change that ideology. Racism is an ideology, and passing laws isn't going to change that. So we have to come up with something different, kick it out, and these programs have been around for 20 years, spending millions of pounds, and it's getting worse. So therefore, we have to stop just throwing it at football's door. Because, for example, if that troller is a milkman, yes, he's a football fan, but he's a milkman, are we going to say the institution of milkmen are racist? No, so why do we say the institution of football is? It is a societal problem, and we have to tackle it in society.
Yeah, but how?
Well, first of all, by letting people know why it's wrong to be racist, and why we all are racially biased to a certain extent, based on what, of course, it's a very nuanced situation, and of course, we've had 300 years of indoctrination, and just by saying it's wrong to be racist because we're all created equal is not the answer. First of all, you have to let people know why they think the way they do to begin with, because of what history has wrongly shown them about different groups, be they women, be they homosexuals, or be they black people. So it's going to take a long time, but we have to start rather than just thinking of laws.
Yeah, you say it's going to take a long time, and we started off by saying that we've been talking about this for a long time. It doesn't seem to have moved. It seems to be stuck. We seem to be stuck in our ways. I mean, a lot of people who are watching this afternoon will say, well, I'm not racist. What would you say to them in response?
Well, I'm sure, unfortunately, we're all biased to a certain extent. Now, when you talk about either racism, sexism, homophobia, it's because of what we have been wrongly told about different groups of people. You as a woman would understand that, homosexuals would understand that, black people would understand that. Now, why I say we're all biased, be it racially, homosexually, or sexist, because of what we have been wrongly told about different groups of people. Something as simple as saying, if I was going to go to war, would I rather go to war with a skinhead with tattoos or with a woman? Now, of course, I'm not going to say who I'd rather go to war with, because then it would be called upon for me to be sacked and put in prison if I really said what I feel. But we know how we truly feel, because we have been wrongly shown the capabilities of certain groups of people. And we have to dismantle that and deconstruct what we have learned, which is going to take a long time, but we haven't started to do it. All we've started to do is talking about banning people and fining people and coming up with laws to stop people being discriminating. Yes, we're talking about race, but it could be from a female point of view or from a homosexual point of view. So it's a long process, but we've not even started it yet. And once again, people are talking about it being football's problem. Now, we were then told for 90 minutes in the stadium we can't have racist chanting, and I suppose football can control that to a certain extent. But what can football do about somebody when they're at home on their phone? They've got, and even if they're talking about footballers now boycotting social media. So if footballers don't go on social media, what's going to stop a racially biased person still abusing people on social media, or abusing footballers?
Yeah, but I hear you, but do you not think to some extent Twitter and other social media does have a responsibility to make sure that if people are racially abusive, that they have to suffer the consequences?
Absolutely. But then here we are, we're now winding it to, first of all, it's not just football, now it's Twitter, and where else is it going to be? It's everywhere. We all have a responsibility, because of course if it's not going to be Twitter, it'll be in some other form. And then so we all have a responsibility to try and change. But as long as we just keep pointing the finger at football as we were, I'm glad Twitter's now been added, because there's somebody else who we can now point the finger at. But let's look at ourselves and say, how do we really feel about the society we live in and the people who are members of that society? So yes, The point I'm trying to make is that we all have a responsibility. So rather than now coming down hard on Twitter, coming down hard on football, it's going to be somebody else's turn next. We all have to look at ourselves.
How do you think Pogba should deal with this?
Well, Paul Pogba should play football. That's what he should do. And of course, yes, he can come out and speak against it. Paul Pogba, what can Pogba do to change racially biased people's minds about black people? If he scores a hat trick for Manchester United, maybe Man United fans will like him. Paul Pogba can't do anything to change the racial climate. What has to happen is that we have to have these conversations, but people have to be honest with themselves about how they truly feel and stop pointing the finger and stop just pointing the finger at football. Because once again, here we are now saying that, and I'm saying this, football has not got a chance of changing people's perceptions. Football can't do it. Society has to do it, and football is just a part of that.
Okay. While we've got you, let's end on a lighter note, should we? How is it being one of Harry's heroes?
Well, unfortunately, I was just the assistant manager to Harry, which meant that a lot of work to do. And we're hoping to have a new series, and I'm hoping to be fit for the second series to possibly play. If not, I'll have to be his assistant again. But it was great. It was great to catch up with the boys. And I think that we saw the human factor of footballers because, as much as we're looking at high-profile footballers now in terms of the celebrity lifestyle they lead, I think if you look at some of the older players, you can see that they're just normal people who, do normal things.
Have you still got those shorts?
The shorts from the 80s or the shorts from Harry's Heroes?
The ones from the 80s.
Well, I've got the shorts from the 80s can't fit me anymore, and I've still got the shorts from Harry's Heroes. They're a little bit baggier, yeah.